Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves an album from an act named Robert Abernathy titled Somewhere Around 18. And if we switch over to here, it's got 18 tracks in it. So we're going to be listening through 6 of these today, but if you want to check out the rest of the album after watching this or, now, it's up to you. You're more than welcome to go to the Spotify page, links in the description. We're going to be listening through these 6 tracks from start to finish, starting with A Little Tied Up. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go. It sounds nice and crispy. The drums, guitar, bass, and harmonica.
If you don't get an answer when you give my phone a ring, and you know my girl's at home, and I've been working out of town all week. Yeah, it's been a long week. If there's cold coffee in my cup, you can bet that I'm a little tied up. If the big ball...
What I appreciate is that there's just so much going on to fill in the spaces on the side of the stereo field. There'll be some slide guitar in the space, or there'll be some kind of more riffing going on the other side, or he'll have more sort of conversational tones, switch up the way he's communicating. A lot of attention to detail.
Watch the game and have a drink. Come on over. And you walking through my door and see a lipstick, white glass in the sink. That could be trouble. Better head on down to the old sports pub, 'cause you can bet that I'm a little tied up.
It's nice to have a solo this early.
Just a little tied up. Alright, so check this out. If your Mercury smoke wagon
The dynamic range there, how it just shifts going into a lower part. It's a smooth move.
breaks down on a Sunday afternoon somewhere. Well, you know 9 times out of 10 I'll be right there. And don't think that I don't care, 'cause you know I do. But if my girl's got me in a handcuff, well, I might be just a little tied up. That's right. My door, turn down the lights, and my...
This is a nice way to switch things up at this point, because you've had a constant state of the harmonica, the guitars, bass, and drums, and the organ as well. To come down just to clapping, it's the kind of shift in vibe I needed in order to keep a 4-minute 10 track interesting or continuously engaging.
My door, turn down the lights, I might be missing, but I'm alright. Don't come looking at you for God. It takes a little time to untangle a knot. Yeah.
It's switching from half to normal time or double time. So I think that this song is about someone saying, look, if you can't get a hold of me, it's probably because I'm doing something really important, but just don't worry. If you really need me, I'll make sure I'm there for you. That's basically the crux of it. I think that the way that it was sung was splendid. Really great voice, really distinctive, nice and easy to hear in the mix. Wonderful array of different solo passages across a wide variety of instruments within the track. Really stellar performance overall, fantastic chemistry between members of the band. The track was not just verses and choruses, you had, again, the several solo sections there. It was unpredictable, including that interlude like near the end, going into double time to that last part. It was really well fleshed out, and I think it's a really fantastic first impression to Robert Abernathy's work. But we're going to be checking out the next track now, Beach Looks Good on You, so let's go, let's do it. Completely different mood with synths.
Wavy ocean in your wavy hair. You on a tower, don't matter what you wear. Won't need to pack much, you got that sun touch. Let the wind in the water and the pina colada do what it wants to do.
It's not often that I hear this kind of country rockish kind of stuff with synths in it, but I think it works well here. It does kind of remind me of a lot of kind of video games I've heard with like synthy stuff at the beach or like ocean levels. It's got a real sense of freshness to it, and it does kind of sound quite lush. So I think that it works well in the scenario.
Your eyes in the sky, the same shade of blue. Got a little SPF, girl, let me rub it in. Ladies, time to raise love, kissing your skin. You're my favorite ocean view, and baby, this beach looks good on you. It looks good on you. It looks good.
Or are those vocal chops?
That shoreline hugs your curves just right. Like a two-piece on you, looking so fine.
Praise the repeaters are on the vocals.
Sands on your tropic tan. Let the wind in the water and the pina colada do what it wants to do. Baby, this beach, it looks good on you. Your eyes in the sky, the same shade of blue. Got a little SPF, girl, let me rub it in.
The backing vocals in this chorus part, I like how they bring things up. They're a nice warm texture in that mid-range and on the sides of the stereo field. It just makes it seem like you're going somewhere really special with the second half.
Raise love, kissing your skin. You're my favorite ocean view, and baby, this beach looks
Like an AABA, right?
looks good on you. Hey, looks good on you. Looks good on you. If I go coconut crazy on your body, you can't blame me, 'cause I got these eyes on you, baby, burned in my mind like that butterfly tattoo. Baby, this beach, it looks good on you. Your eyes in the sky, the same shade of blue.
The eyes in the sky, the same shade of blue. I like some of these lines. They're really pretty. They're very vivid with the imagery and such.
Got a little SPF, girl, let me rub it in. The ladies down
Clearly helpful to the experience.
You're my favorite ocean view, and baby, this beach looks good on you. Hey, looks good on you. Looks good on you. Looks good on you.
Okay, so with that one, I think the track is about someone that they're romantically or sexually attracted to. And the idea is that they're sort of comparing how they look to that of like a beach, how they are at the beach, mentioning like two pieces and stuff like that and all that. SPF, sunscreen references and all that kind of stuff. It's a fun story. It's a nice angle to sort of explore. I think what made this track special was, again, those kind of synthy vocoderish bits that were kind of leads on top. They were repeated in each of the hooks and in various other points. Initially, I was wondering if, because it's a shorter track, so there wasn't really a need for a solo section there. And there were lead guitar parts that were dominant on top. But you could tell this is meant to be less of a kind of an up and down adventure than a little tied up, and more of a just a constant sort of like aesthetic they're trying to establish here with the surfy kind of lush textures, the story about the ocean and the woman, etc. I think that things tie together really well. And outside of what I mentioned, the vocals plus the other parts of the kit do niche together well enough for both these tracks to sound consistent. We got track number 3, You Can't Have My Boat. Not allowed. It's a fun little chirpy tune here. Got a slide there.
Well, I can't say if it's my fault, but yeah, it just might be. There's a pretty good chance I'm everything you say about me. So I'll own it all, take it on the cheek, and slowly walk away. I'm not sure what you're thinking. There's one thing you can't take.
Are we using just an acoustic kit, or are we using electric samples? Because I don't mind either way. It's just I'm listening to the precision of those 30-second note sort of shaker cymbal hits. And either they've just got the most incredible drummer that's ever existed, or those are very precise in a way where it seems like we've kind of sort of like, and again, both is fine. I think to have some sort of like trappish kind of stuff with the kicks and the claps and all this stuff is kind of dope.
And have my John Deere on my beer, every love song that I wrote. Take them to the old fire pit, put some gas on it, light them up and smoke. You can have my baseball cards, dog in the yard. Hey, you can have my clothes. Take it to the bank, you better have a drink, cause you can't have my boat. And I'll go on the water. Nah, 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 nah. You can't have my boat. And I'll go
That is catchy.
on the water.
It works well as a chorus line or end of chorus.
Nah, 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 you can't have my boat. Come on.
Nice lead switch.
If it's true that life's just give and take, yeah, I'd say you're doing.
No, I think they're using it. The percussionist is phenomenal. Whoever's doing the drums on this album, if they are playing that, is just incredibly tight.
The keys to our house and my pickup truck and a guitar you can sell. Yeah, you're probably thinking I lost my mind. Well, baby, that's okay. When the deal is done and I'm in the sun, you're a winner either way. Come on, you can have my John Deere on my beer, every love song that I wrote. Take them to the old fire pit, put some gas on it, light them up and smoke. You can have my baseball cards, dog in the yard. Hey, you can have my clothes. Take it to the bank, you better have a drink, cause you can't have my boat. And I'll go on the water.
This is relatively easy to predict at this point.
Nah, 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 nah,
No, in a good way,
you
not
can't
in a bad
have
way.
my boat. And I'll go on the water. Nah, 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 you can't have my boat. Come on. I'm sure there might come a time when
There was a slick transition into interlude there. I like the fact that we cut it halfway and had a longer solo
I
earlier.
feel some regret. But out here on
Different
the
chord
water,
progression.
you know I ain't felt it yet. You can hear my John Deere on my
Key change.
beer, every love song that I wrote. Take them to the old fire pit, put some gas on it, light them up and smoke. You can have my baseball cards, dog in the yard. Hey, you can have my clothes. Take it to the bank, better have a drink, cause you can't have my boat. And I'll go on the water. Nah, 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 you can't have my boat. And I'll go on the water. Come on in. Nah, 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 you can't have my boat. You can't have my boat.
Nice oscillation on that organ there at the end. So I think that You Can't Have My Boat is potentially about like a separation of some kind, and they're listing all the things the other person can have apart from the boat. The boat is that's their thing that they want to keep, not the baseball cards or anything like that, but definitely the boat. I think that's a nice sort of palatable, easy and accessible way with a good sense of humor to it. There's a nice sense of catchiness to the way that things are both sung and phrased there and written. The guitar lines, as well as the organs and the bass and the drums and everything, are phrased in a way where it is incredibly upbeat and compelling. At 3 minutes 25, it's right in the middle of that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot there, where it's nice and accessible and sort of bite sized, and you can kind of sort of chew away at it and have a good time. I think the multiple sort of guitar solo sections were well phrased and didn't overplay or overstay their welcome. The structuring of the track in general was really tight. I've already given a lot of compliments to the drums throughout this track, but just to sort of like, if I haven't said enough already, I thought the drums were phenomenal. Really great technique on the kit. And yeah, very proficient on the strings as well. There's no real weak points to this album so far. I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to listen to it, at the halfway point. Let's see what we got next. Because as far as I can tell, we have Heaven Has a Radio, track number 4. And starting with Radio Foley. Well done. It's gorgeous at this lower tempo with how things hang.
Was hand carved, made of oak, Grandpa's antique radio. He'd sit around and listen close. It made the world feel right. He bought it used in 53. He turned that dial and let it be. And Grandpa passed it down to me the day he said goodbye. Oh, I wonder if he can hear it now. I bet he's up there tuning in. Got Grandma by the hand. They're dancing on those streets.
Gorgeous
again.
vocal harmonies.
Solid country gold. Two-stepping through the stars to the sound of steel guitars. God knows he'll sing every word by heart to all the ones he knows. Oh, I hope heaven has a radio.
It's like produced like pop music, but there's these country and rock elements to it, as well as some other sort of like synthetic elements. And I think that it's a nice combination as a way of approaching it. Each of these 4 tracks so far has had a slightly different personality to them, which I think has been done to kind of more sort of closely address the subject matter of what we're discussing here. It makes sense for a track like this to be a little bit slower. I appreciate that, as the subject matter is a little bit heavier. You can't really necessarily joke around with this. This seems to be a far more sort of like a tribute to his grandparents. And I think just the warmth of both the words and the instruments in general is really soothing and fitting.
20 years have come and gone. Tried my hand at writing songs. I never thought that I'd be long, but here I am. Writers' rounds and neon lights, the Opry stage on Saturday nights. I can almost see him smile with that old bearded grin. Oh, I wonder if he can hear me now. I bet he's up there tuning in. Got Grandma by the hand. They're dancing on those streets again with solid country gold. Two-stepping through the stars to the sound of steel guitars. God knows he'll sing every word by heart to all the ones he knows. Oh, I hope heaven has a radio.
Oh, a sub-layer lead. Or not necessarily.
Bet he's up there tuning in. Got Grandma by the hand. They're dancing on those streets again of solid country gold. Two-stepping through the stars to the sound of steel guitars. God knows he'll sing every word by heart to all the ones he knows. Oh, I hope. Yeah,
And one more time just to kind of iterate.
heaven has a radio.
Really wistful guitarist to let us out too. I think this is my favorite song off of the album so far. To be clear, I think that just the variety of different elements within it, such as the really sincere, heartfelt storytelling combined with the way the vocals are phrased, it's not revolutionizing the genre or anything like that, but I nonetheless feel as if within the constraints we've established for ourselves with the type of songwriting we're doing, it's very compelling, it's very well done. The vocals, the technique displayed there is great. The harmonies near in the vocals and the chorus, should I say, are wonderful, and some of the far side, left and right sort of backings are really slick as well. The lead was nice and tasteful without overstaying its welcome. The drums, the organs, the sort of like little slightly wistful kind of like lead bits that kind of petered off into existence were kind of sick as well. It's just the combination of all these different ingredients make for a piece that kind of is very soothing to listen to, and it kind of lets you in on how the person writing it and performing it is feeling. And ultimately, when combined with the studio production, which at this point I haven't really talked about studio production much, simply because it's stellar and I was going to talk about it at the end. But the studio production, mixing and mastering is really tight. It sounds commercial grade. It's just a really lovely song. And I don't know whether it's... I suppose I can like imagine my granddad and grandpa kind of like looking at me and stuff. Like as a listener, you kind of want to be drawn into that world. But we've got Redneck Magic featuring SMO here. So let's go. A bit sassy with those kicks. The sizzly guitars.
It was karaoke night, she was on the mic. Pretty seated girl wasn't fitting right with a Reba song. She sang along. Bless her heart, she got the fancy wrong. The situation had to be fixed. So I reached into my bag of tricks. Next thing you know, we were toe to toe. I was teaching her to two-step on the floor to George Strait, and it was going great. Call it supernatural fate. I felt her body melt into mine. I knew my spell was working just fine. Then I whispered, girl, it's time for Redneck Magic. Let's go for a ride. Hop on board my John Deere Classic to the countryside. You don't need them high heels, you don't need them high heels. So what this boy's got planned for you, you can have it, Redneck Magic.
Kind of reminds you of the 90s with a lot of the boy bands I had back then, with the way they're sort of phrasing those lines there. The almost nightlife nature of those minor 7 chords and the way things are phrased there is very intimate. The kicks kick the crap out of the earbuds, and in a good way, I think. Like there's a lot of pep to those kicks there. A sense of pace there is accented. Really interesting track so far.
I took her to the edge of town, where the only sounds were the crickets and the cows and the bloodhounds. No street lights in that night sky, the full moon shining in her wide eyes. I knew the spell was still working fine when she put her hand into mine. So I kissed her, girl, it's time for Redneck Magic. Let's go for a ride. Hop on board my John Deere Classic to the countryside. You don't need them high heels, you don't need them high heels. So what this boy's got planned for you, you can have it, Redneck Magic.
Oh, look out now. Yeah, I keep that homegrown potion ice cold in a jar under neon lights of a backwood bar. Roof for bonfire nights out back in the yard. Frog gigging, cow tipping, raising hell on a farm. Sip of country living if you wanna talk the talk. Cornbread, Vic, kinfolk, walk the walk. Mix it all together, baby, gon' take your shot. Come and get a taste of what I got.
And I whispered,
I mean, like, I wasn't expecting rapping. I think the way that it was put in here worked well. It was nice to have an alternate to a lead solo.
time for Redneck Magic.
Extra bit of angle to what was discussed in the verse.
Hop on board my John Deere Classic to the countryside. I knew the spell was working just fine when she put her hand into mine. I knew that girl was reading my mind when I said it's time for Redneck Magic. Let's go for a ride. Hop on board my John Deere Classic to the countryside. You don't need them high heel shoes. You don't need them high heel shoes. What this boy's got planned for you, you can have it. Redneck Magic.
I'm not sure if we necessarily needed to have that second time of the outro chorus. I thought the story was compelling in general, sort of like coming across a city girl, you know, like intermingling and going dancing, and then eventually sort of taking her out to the countryside and stuff. I thought that was charming. And I think that the combination to get like the sort of the sleepy sounding guitarist, like kind of sounds like nighttime, is what the different guitar ideas would sort of tone texturally sort of like insinuated as. But the bass and drums being nice, and the bass being relatively somber, the drums being in your face. It's more like, I just think the only thing, I'm not sure if we necessarily added to the experience having just one more go of that chorus at the end. I know that we wanted that, wow. Maybe it felt a little bit too short having that chorus at the end. It's just, in a previous track, with I think You Can't Have My Boat, we changed the key signature at that last time through. We could have potentially done that here, but then at the game time, I still feel as if we could have had it shorter without the last, and it would have been just as good. But aside from that, very nice. It would have been interesting to hear what it was like without the remastering, but I think that it was handled well here, and it kind of sounds like it has a place within the album. And finally, we have track 6 for today, Somebody's Gonna Get Hurt. And that snare drum is pushed, man.
Song coming from somewhere, I can feel it in the air. The way you kiss, the way you move, you're dancing out to another groove. And it ain't mine that I'm feeling, am I misreading? Somebody's gonna get hurt. I know just how this works, and I don't think I can take one single minute of this life if you ain't in it. Gonna get hurt. Sometimes I feel the worst, and I can feel it coming, no matter how you spin it. Tell the truth now, baby, admit it. Gonna get hurt now. Somebody's gonna get hurt now.
I mean, like, it's a really interesting guitar lead they have on top. I like the flexibility of those melodies. The bass and drums sound tight too. It's very wide. I'm not sure if they couldn't potentially have just put the guitars in a little bit more into a little bit further away from the extreme left and right, and whether that would have like maybe filled up, because it seems like it's really full on the sides, and then the middle sounds good, but there's like a kind of like a little bit of a gap in loudness here, because it doesn't really seem like things are properly glued in the stereo field. Outside of that, though, it's fantastic, really good.
Sometimes I feel the worst, and I can feel it coming, no matter how you spin it. Tell the truth now, baby, admit it. Gonna get hurt now. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Somebody's gonna get hurt now. Na 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 na. I think I'll hang around a while, so I can look him in the eye. Would he be surprised if I smiled and said somebody's gonna get hurt?
Really seamless transition. I've used seamless a lot of times. Really smooth transition into that lead solo there.
Somebody's gonna get hurt. I know just how this works, and I don't think I can take one single minute of this life if you ain't in it. Gonna get hurt. Sometimes I feel the worst, and I can feel it coming, no matter how you spin it. Tell the truth now, baby, admit it. Gonna get hurt now. Somebody's gonna get hurt now. Na 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 na. Gonna get hurt now. Somebody's gonna get hurt now. Na na na
Alright, so somebody's gonna get hurt. As a track, I think the concept works really well. I was wondering if the snare drum wasn't a little bit too sort of present in the mix, but aside from that, it's absolutely fine. The chorus lines, the vocals are compelling. I said compelling a lot. Are catchy as always. There's a lot of passion and force behind them in certain sections, but we also kind of reduce ourselves a little bit, and it's a little bit sort of more intimate occasionally as well. It sounds like there's a lot of different ways of warning that someone's going to get hurt within this. What I think the track is about, effectively, I think it's about someone looking at person they're interested in with another guy, and they're kind of like looking over cautiously saying, look, if there are any shenanigans or if anything sort of like happens here, there's someone who's going to get hurt, or maybe they're worried that someone will get hurt by them being together. Either way, as the guy said, somebody's going to get hurt. The vocal performance, again, is compelling. No real weak points with that. The guitar with several sort of like lead lines there. The playing in that solo section before the last part was really slick. We had some tapping elements, some slidey kind of wheel, kind of fancy sort of horsing around there, which was great for an alternate lead there. Yeah, I think it was a nice bit of decoration within a track where at that point we were sort of comfortable with the main theme that was presented. I think the combination of elements we've had throughout the rest of the album were just as effective here with the guitar, bass, drums, etc. there. Nice little bit of Christmas and distortion on the sides there, really nice and full. Even though I made the comment about the stereo panning and stuff like that, I still think it was pretty well done for the most part. I like that the music surrounds you on the headphones. It kind of helps you to sort of get absorbed into that world that they're creating. And at 3 minutes, it was nice and short. Most of these tracks are within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, and a lot of them work because of that. So altogether, really great sort of first impression, but we'll chat about that more in the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this these 6 tracks off of the album, Somewhere Around 18. Just in case you've skipped ahead, I checked out A Little Tied Up, Beach Looks Good on You, You Can't Have My Boat, Heaven Has a Radio, Redneck Magic, and Somebody's Gonna Get Hurt. Now, if you want my comments on what the individual tracks are about, feel free to go check through the individual tracks and their conclusions. But for me personally, the album as a whole makes me wonder whether it's, when we say something around 18, is that trying to sort of imply that this is Robert's life from the age of 18? Is this stuff that's sort of like experienced in their life stories they're telling about that? Is that the kind of sort of inference there? In which case, I think it maybe if you enjoyed the 6 tracks, maybe it's worth checking out the other 12 so that you can really sort of get a full kind of vision of what their life has been like. Because if I'm honest, the storytelling's been really great. There's like little bits of sort of like humor in there, but a lot of it is kind of really sort of impassioned and sort of like a lot of sort of a sauciness as well in Redneck Magic. There's different angles that are approached thematically in terms of personality. Robert has a good way of sort of getting the style of singing he does, or rapping in Redneck Magic, whether that was SMO's part, I'm not sure, but they know how to create sort of a vocal-led lead, or leads, because there were harmonies as well in other tracks, that suits the mood established by the rest of the backing instrumentals within each of the pieces and the themes there. I think, again, we had really phenomenal head and chest voice, great vocal technique there, really comfortable in our different sort of like ranges there. We would start some tracks low and go high, and etc. We had some key changes which you handled well as well, and ultimately it was just a really overall sort of solid effort. I don't think there was a note out of place. We clearly had we had everything sorted, and like for the styles of music they were doing, I thought it was very appropriate and it made sense to me, the way we were singing, the way we were sort of performing and expressing and emoting. So it was well handled. I mean, the tracks that we checked out today were between 2 and 4 minutes. I think that's typically the sweet spot for songs. Not too, short that you are potentially missing context or like lacking enough time to sort of tell a compelling story. But it's also not too long that you sort of maybe potentially overrun the theme you've established and kind of make it less kind of get diminishing returns, so to speak. The way that we handled things in regards to like the structure in these tracks was typically, we had verses and choruses, and we'd typically do a few of the choruses, especially in the case of, somebody's going to get hurt, where that was the only song where I was like, maybe we couldn't have had that last chorus. But I think that song's like A Little Tied Up. A Little Tied Up is spectacular. I know I said that Heaven Has a Radio, but if we look at it from purely like an instrumental or so like compositional perspective, A Little Tied Up is great. I just think there was just a sense of wholesomeness all around with Heaven Has a Radio that I really appreciated. It was a combination of different instrument tones, the vocal style, the production, etc. It was all very kind of like a lot of synergy there. But there were tracks, again, like a little tied up where there were several different solo sections, lots of different instruments like harmonicas and organs and guitars, bass and drums, etc. That found little gaps and places to squeeze into. Beach Looks Good on You had that interesting sort of like synthy kind of vocal sub-alto lead on top of there, which was kind of, it was interesting because I didn't know what to make of it at first, but then we got the rest of the track and it made sense. But if I talk about a few of the sort of key components, the key instruments I liked, I really appreciated the guitars, whether we were strumming with sort of open chords or bars or putting in some distorted power chords on the sides, or some interesting sort of melodic kind of string skipped rhythm parts, or we had sort of like all the different solo sections we had, as well as a little kind of ad-lib motifs there with like the slide guitars and little kind of hammer-on pull-offy bits. There was just a lot of interesting phrasings and voicings for that instrument throughout these 6 tracks, and it shows someone who has a fundamental understanding of the instrument and is very comfortable doing whatever the heck they want with it. I think that showed some great courage and creativity here, and I'm really glad that we did. The types of chords, the types of techniques that we had, the types of guitar tones typically matched what I thought would be appropriate for the type of song we were making with the lyrics and sort of themes there. And ultimately, we just had a clear understanding of what our vision was, and we enabled it and implemented that well. The bass was sort of reasonably sort of like respectful of the low end and stuck with the root notes. The drums were tremendous. There were lots of different sort of like 8th, 16th, and even some sort of like triplet parts occasionally. We typically sat within a straight 4/4 sort of structure there. We showed a phenomenal array of different light techniques on the kit there, really comfortable with the different fill passages. We knew how to sort of pocket what we needed to in order to keep things relatively kind of minimalist and not to take the focus away from the leads, but at the same time, we also had sort of like some interesting sort of simple parts like the 30 seconds that I couldn't tell whether it was like programmed or whether it was just so good that I couldn't tell. And I was really impressed with the effort there in regards to the tightness of the technique and the way it was sort of done. There were times where I was almost like, is the drummer doing too much? But then there was enough busyness on the other instruments as well, in addition to that I was like, okay, no, this is deliberate. We simply want it to be this full and lush. And there are other tracks where we kind of, like in Heaven Has a Radio, where the drums kind of really step back and provide a lot more space there. And that's where I was like, yeah, no, we know that this is not going to be an all-the-time thing. We just thought it was appropriate, and that's good. The organs that we had there were a nice mid to high range resonance there that had a nice little bit of oscillation there that kind of made it waver. It was a nice legato-ish constant that sort of sat with us as like a sub-layer throughout the vast majority of the tracks. And I ultimately think that was a really sensible decision, because the last thing you want when you've already got harmonicas, guitars, and drums kind of vying for attention alongside the storyteller is to also have like a kind of an organ solo there in the background. And I think that just a shout out to the harmonica that we had in a little tied up as well. I thought it was like really peppy and charismatic. There was a lot of spice in there, and the way that we knew to kind of sort of express ourselves in different ways that weren't necessarily predictable made that first sort of impression even better. The themes typically ranged from sort of like rockish, sort of overdriven, distorted sort of solos with huge sort of sounding like overall kind of aesthetics, to Beach Looks Good on You, which was a little more sort of like electronic and sort of like synthy and a little bit more sort of like playful, to You Can't Have My Boat, which was intrinsically more of a sort of a poppy kind of catchy experience there, where we tried to make it more sort of accessible and sort of streamlined, to Heaven Has a Radio, which was more of like a slow kind of like a memorial tribute, a very kind of heartfelt, grounded experience. I get the impression from these tracks that each sort of song is going to have its own theme or approach to the topic it wants to talk about, which I think is really important there. Really important. The last thing you want is to have everything sound the same and kind of remove a sense of individuality from each sort of like sort of track, because then it becomes less interesting. And I think that we managed to do that whilst also not alienating each track from each other in a way that could have potentially damaged the experience of listening to the entire album. I think finally, if I talk about the studio recording, mixing and mastering, I think overall it was commercial grade. The vocals sounded fantastically mixed, not just Robert's parts, but also SMOs and Redneck Magic. We covered a wide variety of different genres, or like at least a handful of different genres, and we managed to not only sort of record, write, and play to that respectfully, but it was also done in a way where it sounded like it would have been recorded in that style, if that makes sense. So we had really well recorded vocals, as well as the guitar, bass, drums, etc. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field, and nicely niched in the frequency spectrum without any resonant frequencies. There was dynamic range, but there were some parts where things sounded really tight, like things were pushed. Like I heard some kick parts of some snares where they were kind of smacking against the compressor. And luckily for us, I think that was done in songs where we just wanted a harder snare sound or a harder drum sound because it suited the kind of rigidity or the force of the other instruments surrounding it. So I thought it was done in a way that was appropriate. I'm just glad we knew to kind of switch things up per track again, so that, again, there was a sense of connection between the bits per thing. But yeah, there was dynamic range and it was nice and loud without pumping. And effectively, this is my review of this album from Robert Abernathy, titled Somewhere Around 18, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show him some love via the various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as need the help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.